Our next head coach is Iowa's Kirk Ferentz of the Legends Division. Ferentz begins his 13th season with the Hawkeyes and has guided his team to 9 bowl games in the past 10 years. Iowa capped last season with a victory in the 2010 Insight Bowl, its third straight bowl win. Ferentz welcomes back 11 starters from the 2010 season. We'll go ahead and have an opening statement, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you. First of all, welcome to everybody, and certainly I think like everybody else, we're very eager to get back on the field with our players and get started with our preparation for this season. Like most teams right now, we've got some good veteran players back. Brought 3 guys in to Chicago with us that have done a great job. Mike Daniels, Tower Nielsen, and Marv McNutt. And then we've got some other seniors also that certainly we're counting on for good leadership and good production on the field. Guys like Sean Prater, Brad Herman, Marcus Susovics, and also Broderick Benz, guys that have played very, very well for us. And then, like most teams too, certainly we've got a lot of young guys that we're eager to see how they come along and how they develop. And I really think that's going to be the key for our football team this year is what we do this point on. We've positioned ourselves, and I think we've got an opportunity right now to really grow and eager to just see how things develop. I kind of go back to 2008. We had a team that was very much in transition during the months of August and even September. And think of guys like Pat Anger, Ricky Stanzi, that were both second-team players at that time that earned starting jobs by the end of September and went on and had great careers. So like most teams, we're just eager to see what the next 6-8 weeks brings and see how things develop, and eager to get started with our play, certainly. Last 2 things, obviously, just want to welcome Nebraska to the conference. That certainly is big news with what's happened over the past year. The addition of Nebraska to the league, it's going to be a great, great addition. And along with that divisional play, I think it's obviously going to add a new level of excitement and interest for the fans. So that's obvious. And then the last point, just want to pay tribute. We've got a gentleman, Phil Hattie, has served the University of Iowa, and this will be his last season working with the football program. Phil has actually been at all 40 of these events. So that's quite a feat. I don't think anybody in the room, at least I doubt many people in the room, have been here in that time capacity, and just want to thank Phil for all of his service to the university over the years. With that, I'll throw it out to questions.
If you want to raise your hand, we'll get a mic over to you, and you can ask questions. Don't be shy. Somebody wants to go first. Over here, we got stage right. Take this question.
Hi, Coach. Will you speak about how your program specifically benefits from the addition of Nebraska, the geography, the potential for rivalry, and so forth?
First and foremost, again, I think it's a fantastic thing for the conference. And I was in the league for 9 years back in the 80s, gone for 9, and I've been back again. And so I was not here when Penn State joined the league, but I think we'd all agree that's been just a tremendous thing for the Big Ten overall. And really, I think this is a move that kind of balances that out, if you will. I was not here during that time of expansion, but what a tremendous program they have, what a tremendous university, and tremendous people associated with the program. So I think for the conference, it's a great thing. And then in our case, obviously, we have a border that we share. So it's certainly, I think, something that's going to be very much of interest for the fans. And I remember coming to Iowa back in 1981, where people in Western Iowa, there were probably more Nebraska fans there at that point than there were Iowa fans. Hopefully that's changed a little bit, but time will tell. But I think it's a great thing, certainly, for the people in our state.
Next question is stage left.
As competitive as college football is, and as cyclical as sometimes things are, Kirk, nonetheless, you had built such consistency into the program that even when things got a little uneven last year, it was surprising. What do you think was behind that? I mean, you certainly destroyed some of your opponents that were quality and yet had some difficulties along the way. What was the reason behind that, and what do you see different this year, particularly with a new quarterback?
Really in a nutshell for us, last year it came down to how we handled close games. We dropped 3 games in November, total of 10 points, and if you look at all of our losses over the season, I think it was about 4 points a game. So if you contrast that to the year before, where we ended up being in the Orange Bowl, and that was a year where we did very well in those close games. And I think it's probably true for a lot of us in the conference. We play in a very competitive league. It's going to be competitive each and every year. This year will be no different. And, the better you can handle those close ball games, the more successful you are in those, the better your season will be. And that's a lot of things go into that, certainly. But to me, that's in a nutshell. That's what it's all about. And I think college football is an awful lot like the NFL, at least the competitive conferences, which there are many of them right now. The teams that do better on those close games are going to be the ones playing at the end of the year.
Take our next question, stage right.
Kirk, James Vandenberg a couple of years ago struggled in his first appearance against Northwestern, but then came back on the road, had a terrific effort. What do you think you saw from him at that moment that can turn him into a quality starting quarterback in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think it's probably a 3-game progression for James there. It was ironic at that time. We had a pretty good record, yet I think he had thrown 2 passes going when he got called into the game. So he went in there and learned on the job, on the fly. It wasn't pretty. Certainly the next week he really competed, I thought, at a really high level and gave us a chance to win. We dropped a game in overtime, but he certainly competed at a real high level. And then the next week, we played an opponent that threw a lot at us, and again that slowed him down a little bit. But I think the thing I'm most excited about, we've had a chance to watch him over the past year, getting ready, and preparing as if he were going to be the starter. I think he really took advantage of his opportunities last year. He's really grown. And, sometimes good players get stuck behind good players, and I think that's really what we had with James. We all had a great confidence level in him last year. And obviously Ricky Stanzi was our quarterback, but he's got a nice window of opportunity now, and I know he's really worked hard to prepare for this moment.
Next question right down front.
Kirk, in the past week, John Swafford and Mike Slive have talked about possible sweeping changes in college football, specifically raising the grade point average of incoming freshmen from a 2.0 to a 2.5. Was wondering your thoughts on that, and also another proposal is awarding multi-year scholarships.
Yeah, and I got to apologize. I'm a little behind on my current events here the last 3 weeks. Tried to get away from things. But those are ideas that have been thrown out there, I know, and I've heard about those, certainly. And I think there have been a lot of ideas that have been promoted over the last 6 months, probably specifically. And, I'd support both those notions. I think those are good things, certainly. But it's going to be involved, and it's a process. I think, when a lot of the requirements were put in place years ago, it takes a while, I think, for everybody to catch up. And the big thing is, for young people to understand at an early age when they're in high school, just the value of doing well and doing well early, instead of trying to catch up the last couple of years. So it's going to take a cooperative effort from a lot of different folks, but I think that's a good thing certainly down the road. And I know our commissioner, Commissioner Delaney, threw out in our meetings last spring the idea of the 5th year, making first-year players ineligible, and then giving players, basically a 5-year window, but taking that first year and letting them get acclimated on campus, taking some of the pressures away of having to produce as heralded, recruited players. Some of those things, I think those would be healthy for football. I don't know if they're practical. I don't know if we can work those out, but I think that would be a great thing. It might slow the recruiting industry down a little bit too, and at the end of the day, be better for the prospects and the student athletes.
The floor is open for questions. Go ahead and raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you right away. Right down here in front.
Coach, you've now had 2 straight years of very close games to Ohio State. Are your players looking ahead to that game at all and hoping to improve on that one as well?
We'd love to have that opportunity. I mean, we're in the championship game, so they're not on our schedule here, at least for the next couple of years. But if we had an opportunity to face them again, that would be a very, very positive development. So hopefully we'll do a little bit better next time.
Stage right in the middle.
Coach, running back Marcus Coker really exploded on the scene at the end of last year, especially in the bowl game. What are your expectations for him this upcoming season?
We just want him to continue and improve like every player on our roster. And I think if I could cite one thing that impressed me more than anything about Marcus last year, he fractured his collarbone. I think it was our 3rd or 4th practice just starting out in the fall. So for a true freshman to miss as much time as he missed, and when he did return in the middle of the season, be on task like he was mentally, that really was a good key. I remember Brian Balaga, his freshman year, getting hurt after our first game. He missed about 4 weeks. He jumped in and was a smarter player when he came back. And to me, that really it's impressive for any player, but certainly a first-year player. And Marcus, showed us that last year. Obviously played well on the field too. So, we're expecting him to continue to develop, be a little bit more well-rounded, and I think that's something he really took to heart last spring and did a nice job during spring practice.
Time for a couple more questions. We've got one stage right here in the back.
You mentioned how, looking back to last year, all of the losses were in one-score games. They were all very close, and then several of your wins were actually by much wider margins. And one of the things going into this next year is trying to figure out how to win those real close games. What do you think you would need to do to try and turn that around going into this season?
The easy thing to do is always focus on the last 2 or 4 minutes of a game, and sometimes that is where you need to focus. But I can think of a lot of examples through the years where really it gets started in the first half. You squander opportunities in the first half that might be there that aren't there in the second half, and so it's really kind of complicated. There are a lot of things that go into winning and losing. That's really probably the message all of us try to send our players is that you're never quite sure what series is going to determine a game or have a big impact on a game, and at the end of the day, that's why you really need to be at your best at all times and ready to compete at your best.
Down here in front.
Coach, you lost 3 defensive linemen all to the NFL draft. How do you, your defense that's been so vaunted over the years, recover from losing that kind of talent up front?
Yeah, it's unusual. We had 3 guys last year that were drafted, and I expect all 3 of them to have nice careers in the National Football League at one position. So it's obviously 3 out of 4 guys, pretty significant. The good news is we have 2 players coming back. We really think we've seen play very well in our conference. Mike Daniels and Broderick Benz are both tremendous young guys. And, bigger picture is that, we had 3 last year and those 2 guys this year. So in a 2-year span, we're going to take a pretty good hit at that position. But I think those guys will give us good leadership. And then we've got other guys, last year we played usually 4 or 5 guys during the course of the game. I think this year it's probably realistic to think we'll be playing 6, 7, maybe 8 guys in a game, so it might be a little bit more by committee than it was years past, the last 2 years. So we'll find a way, but I think the guys have worked hard, and I think we've got some guys eager to get their opportunity and get out there on the field.
Time for one more.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.